One of the things I have found for me is that I have sabotaged my successes for fear of failure. I have low self-esteem, and I'm working on that. I'm in a spiritual program called Codependence Anonymous, where we identify with the God of our understanding. As you all know, I have a God that is a massive Father to us all, bigger than I think any other religion on this planet could even embrace or understand until they read the Urantia book. I found in my life that having been abandoned by my natural father, my biological father, mother who had her problems and never seemed to find a way to get to the care she needed to find out what was her problem. I'm learning that I have to become an authentic person. And to do that, I have to do it through my God, our God. He's been a blessing in my life, and I can't thank him enough for what he's done for me. I'd like to read something that has meant something to me because it was in another 12-step program, Adult Children of Alcoholics, that I found my inner voice. And that's July 11th, which is today. The reading is, "Today I will listen to my voice and be guided in the right direction. My inner voice has all my answers loud and strong. Today I will listen to that wise part of my being that so often attempts to guide me. Sometimes his voice is firm, sometimes it is soft, sometimes it just chuckles about my interactions and my decisions. I trust that my inner words, guided by my spiritual nature, lead me on the right path. Even during times when I'm not inclined to listen, my inner voice continues to send helpful messages. Today I will listen to my inner voice, and I will be led in the right direction. When I was living in an alcoholic family, it was often chaotic and confusing. My inner voice usually prodded me along, yet I so often chose opposite actions from what my wise part knew, that infinite that lives within us. Listening to myself can guide me to serenity. Deep down inside, I know that peace exists, and I bless my inner voice today." These are some of the things I read. I have 3 meditation books. One is on Coda, one is on Adult Children of Alcoholics, and the other is The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beattie. And I'm getting dry mouth. Can I have my water? Thank you. This may not be politically correct. I grew up in a very, very dysfunctional family, and as Virginia Satir said, from what I learned when my former husband was in graduate school, the pendulum of our lives swings to the right and to the left. The small majority right in the middle where it's balanced. Some of us over here are really, really chaotic and dysfunctional, and some of us over here are really in a good spot, better than even in the middle. I was over here. When I found the Urantia book, or actually it found me, in November 1975, by a young friend of mine who was legally blind and had been lent the Urantia book and was trying to read it. with his high-powered a magnifying glass. In those days, there was no extra things that he could use to make the printed word larger. My ex and I had a split, and he was off in an apartment, and my daughter and I were living in our house. And I got this doorbell that rang. And I was used to having Randy come around at different times because we like, is there a God? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What can we rely on in our lives? And it made sense to him to give me the Ranch book to read because he knew I had so many questions. We used to spend Saturdays with another friend asking all these questions and discussing what avenues we had come down and what things and what we wanted to find out about God in our life. So he rings the doorbell, I go and answer it. He walks in with this big blue book in his hand. And the kid has no pectoral muscle on one side of his body, but he was one of these kids that could do anything he wanted to do. He just challenged life. And that's what I found with a lot of people from dysfunctional families. We challenge, we want to reach out, we want to make improvement. So when he brings this book in, he says, I don't have time to stay, but I've been with this book for 30 days and I don't want it to go to bad, use just sitting on the table because I'm not going to be able to read it. You know how bad my eyes are, can't see very well. And he says, I know you have a lot of questions and maybe you'll get some answers here. And I took the book and almost dropped it on the floor. I said, no, it's too big, got too many big words. I'll never understand it. As I was looking through it, you better take it back. He says, I'm not taking it. I'll be back in 30 days. But he didn't come back in 30 days. It took him about 60 days when his friend asked for his book back. By that time, this was November 75, he brought it to me, just before Thanksgiving. And by January of 76, my ex and I had decided to get our lives back together, try to make a marriage work. It didn't. As 4 years went by, that was the end of that marriage. But in that time, he came back and started doing some clinical work at a receiving home in Glendale, Arizona. He calls me up one day, he says, you'll never guess. I said, guess what? There's 2 people here at this place where I'm working, and one of them is a book. And he said, tonight I get dibs on it. He says, because I had been reading it and wouldn't let him read it. And he said, I get dibs on it. I want to read it tonight. I'm going to start reading it. This guy just can't stop talking about it. It was Dick Johnson, a lot of you know, and he used to be on the council. He and his wife both were reading. Well, within a few days, there was a potluck for the Faith House that was put together between Dick and his wife and a few other volunteers and another 12-step program for helping with women who were battered wives and helping their children have a place of refuge to go to. Here I go again. Sorry. Go to the potluck, and here comes Dick and Peggy, my husband at the time, introduces us. And they start talking to me, telling me, maybe you ought to try a 12-step program. So I did. I took them at their word. I thought, it can't help. I've got the Ranch book. Now I've got 12-step recovery coming into my life. So as the process went along, I went through 5 different programs and kind of walked into the meeting rooms for a few others just to check out all the dysfunction that I needed to find out. that had passed in my life that I needed to work on. And eventually I found CODA in 1989, October of 1989. So my path has been a path of discovery. I do a lot of sponsoring today with other women who are coming into the program or the program that have need of clearing up things in their personal lives. I have a pamphlet of what is CODA. So if anybody is interested in wanting to know what CODA is, I made some extra copies of it. But for me, CODA has helped me understand who I am and where I'm going along with the Urantia book. Because I can go into a meeting and share my experience, strength, and hope with other recovering people. 12 steps, and the 12 steps are borrowed and revised with permission from the first 12 step, which is Alcoholics Anonymous. And the biggest thing in CODA is we admitted we were powerless over other people and that our lives had become unmanageable. And I think being in the home that I was in, there was the first 10 years of my life, to me, weren't that bad because I was with a very loving who was my rock. But then my mother married somebody who was a raging alcoholic. And I don't remember seeing the man sober with 3 years that I lived with her. And one day, when I was just about 13 years of age, I told my mother that I was going to run away. I was going to be one of those runaway kids. And she begged me not to do it. That's the only time I remember my mother talking to me. The rest of the time, if I don't have anything nice to say about anybody, I'm not going to say anything. So she was like in depression all the time. And being a child, I had an older brother who was 2 years older. But being a child of a mother who more or less abandoned us because she wasn't there for us, it was really difficult to tell her that. At one time begged me not to run, that she would do something about it. And that's the only one time in my life with that woman that I remember she actually came alive and did something about it. She got on the phone with my grandmother, and the two of them talked, and they said, please don't run away. Stay and finish the school year, and then grandmother will come and get you. And I said, better be here the day after school's out, or I will go. Well, she was there the day after school was out. And I lived with her the rest of my school years and 2 years of college. I've never seen a more loving person in my life as that woman was to me. She was my mother, my father. She was my sister. And she gave. She was my rock. I thank you for listening to me. Blessings to all of you.